They arrived at 24 Splerka. Suddenly, Nachmanson got out of the vehicle, and he said, "Stand and descend from the vehicle right now, distinguished citizen." And then the guards abruptly formed a pathway between the vehicle all the way towards the gate. Lulav turned to the Rebbe and said, "Now, I will take your bag whether you like it or not. And here, you're our guest, and you will obey our orders." The Rebbe replied patiently and with confidence, "Yes, for now it is a great victory for you, but hopefully only a brief one." One of the guards let out his emotion and shouted, "Monsieur, stop! Speaking is forbidden here!" Nachmanson walked in front of the Rebbe, and now there were two new armed guards, one to the Rebbe's right and one to the Rebbe's left, and Lulav was walking from behind the Rebbe. Nachmanson walked very quickly, but the Rebbe walked very slowly. Even before they entered the gate, the Rebbe asked, "Excuse me, Mr. Nachmanson, are you going to keep your word, what you told me, that I will be allowed to put on my tefillin, and I will be allowed to pray?" At that moment, Nachmanson's rage began to show. He turned around to the Rebbe and he said, "Even before entering the prison, you are starting to demand things? Are you oblivious to what your situation is? Do you realize you are under arrest? Do you realize you're going to prison? First you'll be brought to the administrative headquarters, and there you're given a bunch of questions to answer. After you fill out the questionnaire, then you'll be brought to your jail cell, and then from then, you will be able to pray, if you still can." But don't worry, I think in a short while, you're going to forget all about prayers. Oh, you will not waste your time on any of these things. Forget that you are Schneerson, the distinguished Bagamelnik, one who prays to God. You are now a simple person who is being punished with imprisonment or other punishment for your flagrant acts against the government. Now you will pay for everything. The Rebbe did not respond, but instead gazed at him intently. This had a far more piercing effect than any words. Nachmanson turned to Lulav. "What do you think will happen to this distinguished citizen who has waxed and thrived for many, many years in the affluence and luxury of such a fancy lifestyle when he comes to his new apartment in Splerke Salon? The simple fear of black bread and kasha will not rest well with him. There he will leave behind his pride. There at the interrogation room, oh, by that table, he will speak, he will declare, and he will answer all the questions put to him. Right, distinguished citizen?" As though oblivious to Nachmanson's conversation with Lulav, the Rebbe turned to Nachmanson and said, "Where are your guarantees in your official capacity as a representative of the GPU that I would be permitted to put on my tefillin and to pray? Why didn't you reveal to me while I was still in my home that you would not let me pray? What prevents you from being truthful? Whom did you fear? Why did you give me such firm assurances? Is this the normal conduct of a representative of the GPU?" The Rebbe saw at that moment that this was not the same Nachmanson that was in his apartment, not the same Nachmanson that was in his courtyard, but no, this was a GPU official whose primary task was to confuse and frighten the prisoners, to admit things, to confess to things that they haven't even done. They advanced a few more steps, and Nachmanson opened the door. and he whistled. "Take this citizen! Come here! Here's the papers for him! Take this! Here's his documents! Escort him to the administrative room, quickly! And you must give his file to Official X. Now you will begin to understand where you are! Lulav, wait for me!" And with that, Nachmanson ran after Lulav. Apparently, their night's work was not over yet. "All right. You are to go down that long corridor over there, straight to the open doors. And inside there you'll answer all the questions that they will ask you over there." This corridor was a long room, more than 150 feet long and 12 feet wide. On both sides there were many closed office doors, and at every 30 feet was a small burning candle suspended from the ceiling. Along the length of the room stood 10 or maybe 12 armed guards, each armed with a Cossack spike. It's like a spear that was hanging across his back. He had a polished sword in his left hand and a rifle in his right hand. They stood like marble pillars, unmoving, yet their eyes attentively surveyed the entire area. The dreadful, bizarre scene would inevitably frighten any normal person. And the Rebbe thought to himself, could a person be such a wild animal that such things are needed to tame him? Through the 2 rows of soldiers, in the frightening dimness, in death-like stillness, the Rebbe walked to the end of the corridor. In the Rebbe's mind, the question arose, where am I going, and for what purpose? What is required of me, and how will this all end? I shall shortly arrive at the open door, exactly as the guard told me. Did he not give me clear instructions that I must write out the answers to the questionnaire? And what then? Later, surely Nachmanson's promise will be fulfilled, that I will be brought to the place where one speaks willingly or unwillingly. And the Rebbe advanced slowly in thought. While deep in thought, the Rebbe turned to the right, going down through a different hallway. The Rebbe suddenly noticed the amazing contrast between the hallway that he just came from and the hallway that he was now entering. The walls were plastered, and there were many windows. There were no armed guards, and there were long benches extended along the entire length of the room. In this area, there were also many doorways, but they were white, with numbers written on them and signs printed with thin, sharp words. Compared to the other hallway, this hallway seemed to be so normal and civilized. The Rebbe thought to himself, I must have made a mistake in my movements, for I had been instructed to go forward up to the door open for all prisoners. How did it happen that I somehow turned and arrived here? Would this magnify my supposed violations of the law? Nevertheless, I will not hurry back. Had I been aware originally, perhaps I would not have ventured off in this direction. But by Hashkocha Proteus, I have already crossed the line and am already here. So, this must be where I was meant to go. Were my actions any less significant than those of the wind blowing the wisp of the straw, or a wind-driven swirling leaf? Rabbi Yisrael Baal Shem Tov had taught that even these seemingly minor incidents are all due to Hashem's divine providence. Hashkocha Proteus. Here's a bench, standing just a few feet away. Let me just approach it and sit down and rest for a while. As the Rebbe sat down, for the first time able to relax since his arrival in Shpalerka, he began to think and realize, oh, oy vey! My bag! I forgot my bag. I wonder where it is. Could it be that Lulav didn't return it to me? Could it be that he brought it into the other room? Wherever my bag is, I'm sure it's secure, and I don't think anyone will steal it. At this moment, I must prepare myself for the room that is open for all prisoners. And now the Rebbe thought to himself. I pictured the sobbing of my mother, the white face, and the deep inner anguish of my wife, the shattered hearts of my helpless daughters, and the concern of my son-in-law. I also thought about my future son-in-law, Rabbi Menachem Schneerson. What were they doing at this very minute? My eyes, they are flowing with hot tears. I am deeply agitated. My entire body is trembling. Suddenly, like a flash of lightning, the Rebbe thought to himself, and what of Hashem, who has done all of this? Who has generated this entire sequence of events? Everything has its source in Hashem. True, I am indeed a son, a husband, a father, a father-in-law, one who loves and is beloved. They are all dependent on me, but I and they, in turn, are dependent on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I have done all that I am capable of doing, and Hashem will do according to His will. May He be blessed. These thoughts strengthened the Rebbe greatly as he sat there in absolute peace. A few moments passed, and a person walked out of one of the doors. This man approached the Rebbe and asked, "Excuse me, who are you waiting for?" The Rebbe responded, "I did not come here. I was brought here, and I was told to go to the administrative center. I am waiting here for my talis and tefillin, for the man who brought me here assured me that he would provide a place to pray. He also said that I was being brought here merely for a few hours to answer some questions." The man stood there without uttering a word, scrutinizing the Rebbe from head to toe in total amazement. And then he turned and he sat down on the same bench as the Rebbe. "Where are you from?" "I come from a small town, Lubavitch. Have you ever heard of it?" "Lubavitch? Yes, I know it well. Even from my early childhood I knew of it. It is not small at all. There was a big marketplace and 2 houses of prayer." "In Lubavitch? Yes, there lived a saintly man there, I remember. There was a well in their courtyard, and whenever I would come with my father to the marketplace, I would go there to drink water. I would also lead our horses there to drink." Yes, yes. The Rebbe's heart began to pound with great emotion as he began to have fond memories. But the Rebbe could not determine if this would work out in his favor or not. And now the Rebbe began to walk towards the administrative office. The Rebbe stepped across the threshold, and he gazed into a room that was approximately 36 square feet. There were some 20 women sitting behind their desks, and they were writing, and on the other side of their desks sat the so-called guests. Absolute silence prevailed, a deathly stillness. The questions and answers were exchanged very quietly. Only the scratching of the pens on the paper, that was the only sound that could be heard. In the open center stood a group of people. No detail was lost upon them as they peered at every side of the room and at each and every person that was there. Ah, there it is, on the right side of the dark corridor entrance. My bag and my plaid blanket. The Rebbe suddenly heard one of the officials say, "Citizen, go sit over there."
Sit, citizen. Here is a sheet of questions. Answer each question clearly and answer each question in the correct space.
I'm looking at this and I have nothing to write. This does not relate to me and I have nothing to answer.
What? You do not wish to follow the official procedure? It is an established law that each individual arriving here must fill out this answer sheet and clearly respond to all questions.
I did not come here to visit. I was taken here. The persons who brought me know who I am and what I am. Why do something utterly pointless?
Do you forget where you are? Or is your mind confused? Do you mean to institute new procedures in this department? What is your name?
I know very well where I was brought to. And Baruch Hashem, thank God my mind is in good order. I do not seek to institute new procedures. My name is Schneerson. I live at 22 Machavaya Street, apartment 12. I will not write any answers to the questionnaire, and you can enter the information just given.
Oh, yes? And what is your title?
I am an honored for generation citizen.
That title doesn't exist anymore.
I do not know if it does or does not exist, but my title is honored for generation citizen.
What do you do?
I'm involved in studies, the study of the knowledge of godliness known as Hasidus, and the study of Jewish law and its observance in accordance with the Jewish religion.
Religion? Godly knowledge?
Yes, the knowledge of godliness. One God has created and formed all existence, and his divine providence extends over all creations, the crawling creature in the sea, and the small creatures in a desert wasteland, and mankind in civilized society.
How can I possibly write such answers on the questionnaire?
Who asks you to write? As far as I'm concerned, you need not write anything. If you want to write, write. And if you don't want to write, then don't write. Suddenly 3 men appeared at the threshold of the room. Their eyes searched the room, and upon noticing the Rebbe, the expression upon their faces indicated that they had found what they had been looking for. The 3 stood silently, but their entrance seemed to instill a deathly fear that affected even